All right. Welcome, friends, and happy Sunday. We have a lot going on this week, and in the next week, we have FOMC. We have lots of data that should be coming out, and who knows if it will come out because of the government shutdowns. And of course, we have a massive earnings week. So I'm going to let Instagram tap us in, and then we can get started. So as you come in, let us know where you guys are tapping in from. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys had a great trading week. Finally, we broke out of that massive down candle range. So that was nice. That gave us upside. We've had weeks of gamma up at the 6,800 area. So we were expecting to have a really nice move. We were, trying to take advantage of that up move. And for Friday, we did have a lot of gamma around the 6825 and the 6800. So hopefully you guys were able to take advantage of some of those moves. All right, let's see. Instagram likes to take a while to tap us in, but we can get started because it's actually nice that it's daylight savings. It's a little bit earlier for me. Normally I'm on here at 10 p.m. for me, but it's actually 9 p.m. tonight. So it is still good evening, but not as late in the evening. All right, so this coming week, we obviously have a lot of earnings reports and really centered on the Wednesday and the Friday. Oh, I see my colleague here. Let's see if I can get. Let's see.
Oh gosh.
Hello, how are you? Oh,
So getting set up.
hey, missed you last week. Sorry about that.
All right.
Welcome, welcome. How are you, Zay?
Hello, hello, hello. Oh, I
Are
saw
you
my back.
ready? Are you ready for
Yeah, I'm
earnings?
just getting my little stand together. But yeah, you can talk. I'm just.
No, no, are you ready for earnings? Are you excited
Oh,
about
oh,
earnings this
oh, oh. Am
week?
I ready for earnings? Am I ready for earnings? Let's see. Yeah. I mean, I'm ready for the week. I'm ready for the week for sure.
Nice.
More than just earnings, but I'll be honest. What I'm most ready about this for this week is to just get it over with because as humans, we love to uh, add unnecessary hype or heightened expectations, and then you know once it's over, it's like, well, it didn't, we didn't really live up. So I think a lot of this week is just a reflection of all the expectations that a lot of people are putting on it. But this one week isn't going to make or break the market, right? It's
Yeah.
always, this is the most important week until the next big important thing comes up,
Until it's
right?
done and
You know what I mean?
yep.
And I was talking to somebody on Twitter about that. They're like, this is the most important week. I'm like, we've done said that 20 times this year already. And
Exactly.
every
And
week
the
feels like
week
it's the
that it
most
was
important week.
And the week that it was the most important, everybody said, "Oh, it's going to be nothing." And then suddenly Trump pulled out that crazy ass board and everybody was caught off guard. So, the
Right.
week
Yeah.
the week you should be excited. You don't really even see it coming. So,
Exactly. Exactly. So, for me, I am, yeah, I'm just ready to in November, right? Get on into November, get past all the hype and expectations that, again, the market puts on this week and, you know, find out what's next, right? What's going to be the
hmm
next thing that's supposed to crash the market or move the market. So,
hmm
yeah, but I will say this that's not to downplay how impactful this week can be, right? I
hmm
do think this week will be very impactful. There's definitely some potential market movers, but again, I'm not putting like, oh my God, it's the Super Bowl week. It's just
yeah.
it's gonna end up being another week. And we'll live.
Can you guys hear us? Because some people are saying that they're having internet issues, and I can see that the numbers are like really flickering up and down, up and down. So I don't know if there's. Can you hear me properly, or Is it?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Okay, because I can hear you perfectly. Yeah. So I just
Yeah.
wasn't. Okay. So let's see. Hopefully everybody it'll keep everybody tapped in here. Yeah, I completely agree. I think, one of the things I found most interesting is, months ago, when we were structuring our leaps, like everybody should know by now, I'm super into gamma, and so, oftentimes it'll just, you'll see these kind of cluster of interest at certain prices. And the funny thing is that those prices were set there from like 7, 8 months ago, and they're still exactly in the same place. So it goes to show that, institutional investing just doesn't care about, all of the day-to-day kind of feels. A lot of that is just the interaction, like when we see major moves, it's the interaction between options and the futures market, and then all of that, like the broker correcting all of their positions because of all the changes of positions coming off. But for a lot of the equities, the kind of expectations of where they're going to go is already really baked into the institutional positioning. And it's because institutions have, billions of dollars, and they're trying to get exposure on a number of things, and they have to balance all of that out. And so, it would be very, very strange um, to it would be very strange if like day to day they were just changing all of those things consistently. It doesn't make any sense. So I agree with you that a lot of times we get super worked up about things, but even like 2 weeks ago, we have these weekly positions that
Exactly.
we put on. And 2 weeks ago, I said, oh, for this last Friday, we had a lot of gamma positioning at the 68.25. And that seemed like a very strange potential after the big drop. But I was like, you just have to do the systematic positions as the systematic positions are. We can't game the system. It looks like it's a very low chance of success. But, for the people that took the trade, their trade on on Friday. It was a $150 position that went to almost $2,500. So, I mean, sometimes you just have to do like take your feelings and emotions out of it and just stick with whatever your rules are. And, that's just my advice. It's not that I don't think that the macroeconomics is important, but I think a lot of that is important to our lives. It's not necessarily important to how I'm going to trade like every single day, or otherwise I'm going to be depressed and then excited and depressed again and then super excited. And I just don't want to ride a roller coaster of 58 emotions every other day of the week. I have two small children. Let me just tell you, negotiating with the 6-year-old sucks all the life out of the room sometimes. So I just need all my energy for that one project.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. No.
Because you have two tiny ones. At
Yes, I
least my
got
older
yes.
one's a little bit older.
Right. I got a 4-year-old going on 5 and a 2-year-old going on 3. So I know. I know all too well.
And they have
All too well.
energy. Your videos, it's like they got energy on luck.
A hundred percent.
They can
Yes.
send
Yeah.
some of that over here.
Are you able to see the comments real quick? Because I can't see no
Yeah.
comments, and I
So
do see,
I see
and the number
people
is stuck
coming
on 4.
in. I see people coming in, but I haven't had, and your comment was the last one, the comments check. That was the last
Yeah.
comment. So let us know where you guys are tapping in from. Then we'll see if the comments are actually coming in. Hopefully you
Yeah.
guys can hear us. If anybody is um, having issues, you can also let us know. I don't know if there's much that we can do about it. Testing one,
Well,
two,
no,
three. There
yeah,
you
that's what I
go.
was gonna say. Let's make sure at least you can see the comments. If I can't see it, it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
But
Okay, so we got some South Florida in the house, some
okay,
Oklahoma. Casey, let's
yeah, I
go.
can't see nothing on my end.
So, yeah, somebody was asking about the
Okay.
China tariff situation, and yeah, that I mean, it seems like things are going to get organized, that things are going to start rounding themselves out. And I don't know if people remember, about 2 weeks ago, I think I mentioned that, there was a lot of viol there was a lot of aggression towards Colombia and with these ships, and that accidentally we hit a Colombian ship and we were
Oh, you
targeting
mean
somebody
Venezuela?
else. Yeah, we were trying to target Venezuela, but we accidentally also ended up hitting a Colombian ship, and the Colombian
Oh, okay.
president was super, like came out and was super angry. And then we have all this stuff going on with Argentina, and I mentioned back then because this was at a time where it was literally right after Trump did the we're going to double tax. We're going to hit China with double tariffs. And I said,
Mhm.
whenever he does something like this, he's distracting from something else. And this weekend, I was with this whole thing with Argentina and us sending them all of this money. It now has unveiled itself that all of this has been a massive part of like his rare earths kind of
Rare earth
game,
minerals.
because
Yeah. Hmm.
Argentina has a massive amount of rare earth minerals, and as does China. And of course, by us aggressively leaning into South America and which is a large number of the countries, who
Hmm.
also have a lot of relationship, obviously, with China as one of the key BRICS countries. And I kind of started to see that, a lot of the aggression we were pushing onto South America actually probably had a lot more to do with this kind of conversation with China. It was like an indirect way of us showing strength that if you don't do what we want to do, it's okay. We might not be able to go after you because you are the bigger dog in this situation, but we
Hmm.
can go after all of your smaller dogs that are closer to us and around the region. It almost remind me of like the Cuban Missile Crisis. I was like,
Hmm.
oh, this is, but all that to say, I mean, all of these actions have something to do with each other. Like, why all of a sudden are we aggressing in Brazil and in Colombia and in Venezuela? And now we're suddenly sending all this money into Argentina and now doing beef agreements with Argentina and like rolling over our farmers in the United States. And I was telling someone, I said, for me, the most obvious thing is we don't care about farming in America. We need land so we can do data centers, and we need land in cooler climate areas because
Hmm.
we did this weird TSM factory in Arizona where there's like no water and heat. It's like, didn't we experience what happened with drought in Taiwan? And they're surrounded by water. Um, why don't we not do TSM in Arizona? But all of these things are actually starting to really show how they're all impacting each other, how the machinations of not just Trump but his entire team are working, but how aggressively they are pursuing each of these aspects of rare earth rare earth minerals, bringing chips and manufacturing back to the United States, like all these things that for a long time, I think, um, we didn't know how all the pieces were fitting together, but I have to say, like it's crazy to me how many countries were now like drawing in to this plan and how many people were ready to aggress in order to get what we want. And all of it's kind of happening very quietly on the side because everybody's so focused on China, they're just not even looking at all the other pieces that are kind of slowly coming together. And it's funny because somebody asked me, like, well, don't you feel bad for the farmers? And I was like, well, I didn't tell them to vote for Trump. And I'm long all the rare earth metals. So,
Hmm.
rare earth minerals. And, so I mean, I did like, I don't know. You can't tell people to vote for their best interest. If you want to vote against your own best interest, that's your business.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot that's happening fast. I think in 1, 2, 3 years, people are going to look back and feel shocked by how quickly things start to change. And I think that this thing about really, farmers are bankrupting. That was the, they are bankrupting. But they bankrupted on their own interest. I mean, they voted in a very particular way that in the end didn't serve them. Now they're, and it's serving. Trump because he's not pushing them out of business. He's not creating policy that is pushing them out of business. They knew that there were going to be tariffs. They knew
Mhm.
that we were going to pull away from China, and farmers still voted for those policies. Now, they also voted for anti-immigration laws, and I don't know who they think is going to go work on their farms. I don't have any answers for what they were voting for, but in the end, this is now where we're at. And I think all of this is very bullish for AI, for the metals, for mining and minerals, for and for tech, because it shows all of these aspects. It's a bit sinister, but all of it is, moving towards a particular path. And it's true, farmers don't hold the majority vote, but in some states like Nebraska and Arkansas, they hold, I think, a substantial voice. Maybe that's the right word. Not a majority of the vote, but they hold a very substantial voice, sadly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad they can vote. I just don't know that they were seeing how this was going to pan out for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, most of Middle America has been voting red for a very long time, and I mean, Republicans pretty much have Middle America, um, like I guess you could say in the bag. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Does it change from here? Well, all I have to
no,
say is that for me, all of this just points a sign that the government is pushing one narrative, and that narrative has a very strong impact in the market, and that's you got to be long those sectors. And we've been
yeah,
saying that for a long time. And everybody keeps saying, but we've been bullish for so long. So is the trend going to persist? And I'm like, the trend is your friend until it breaks up with you. But at the same time, the the reality is that the government has only started their investing process. So if I tell you I'm investing in this and I'm going to keep investing in this until I get to where I want to be,
hmm
then you just have to be ready for the broad swings because of volatility, but the fact that, these sectors still have a long potential way to go. We've barely started moving. I mean,
right,
like, where is nuclear? I mean, really, like, a large nuclear reactor takes 3 to 4 years to build.
right,
So we're going to be investing in those areas fast to find any way to speed up the process, nuclear, nano reactors, whatever that may be. The government's is now embedded in the research and development aspect of these companies to get things moving forward. You can be long and make money, or you can, talk about who deserves SNAP and who doesn't deserve SNAP. You can spend hours dissecting all of those things. And the question is still going to be, and like, where is the government putting their billions?
and that's why I think you have to the key with that is separating the market from the economy and the macro stuff. Because, like you said, mentioned earlier, the macro kind of affects our life, right? It's good. It makes for good talking points. But ultimately, I would say money flow doesn't always follow the macro, right?
Hmm.
And you just got to follow where the money is going. Um, And and it just goes back to what I said is that the economy and the stock market are two separate entities, and they don't always gel. And
Hmm.
so, you know, that's it's just how it works.
Yeah, I mean, people often ask me like, "Oh, is this your, is that what you think about your politics?" Like my personal politics, like when I go to vote, I am going to vote and I'm thinking about a holistic number of issues. But,
Right,
when I'm telling people, okay, this is what I think, this is what I believe about certain underlyings in certain sectors, I have to do that in the context of what's actually going to happen. Like I may think the most important sector is cannabis, and I want cannabis to go up 500%, but I don't have any reason to believe that's going to happen tomorrow. So why am I
right.
going, just because that's a passion project of mine, why would I tell people to go and put their money behind that? I
I
don't
mean,
have
how
that much
like
influence.
yeah, like how you make your money and what you believe in again is two totally different things. So yeah, listen. I made a tweet this weekend. The market is as complex as the person you make it to be,
Hmm.
right? Um, the world can be a very simple place. It's us humans who make it complex, right? And the same goes for the market, right? The market is can be a very simple thing, but by human curiosity and human intellect, we always want to ask, what if this, what if that,
Hmm.
try to predict the future, causes self doubt, and that's it. All goes back to that's why a lot of people will say the market or the stock market is 80% psychology and 20% skills because a lot of again a lot of the expectations, a lot of the fears, the doubts, the optimism, all of that is a outcome of human behavior.
Hmm.
Um, and so again, what you think, what we think should happen is ultimately different from what's actually happening.
Hmm.
And regardless of what you think, you have to think, you got to separate, well, how am I going to make my money versus, like I said, what you believe in.
Hmm.
Um, you know, it's funny because I didn't believe in Intel, but I'm long Intel.
Well, same like
I'm
Apple.
making money.
I
I
don't.
don't get, I mean,
I didn't believe in Apple, but I'm long Apple.
I believe in Apple though. I
I know
believe in
you
Apple.
believe. You also believed in AMD. See, I
I did.
listen. I listen to other people because my bias can keep me away from really good trades.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, I'll be the first to admit I did not believe in Intel, but at the same time, I looked at it and I'm like, the risk reward and making money I can't deny what I saw. I'm like,
Hmm.
and again, sometimes I'd say that to myself. If somebody asked me what did I think of Intel, and the advice I would give is I would tell them, if you believe in the story, then it's a great risk reward. You probably can make money. Now,
Hmm.
I didn't believe in the story, but I'm telling myself, well, if I were to tell somebody else, if they believe they can make money, well, maybe I don't believe, but let's just take a chance, right? And that's
Hmm.
one of those places, that's one of those things where it's like, I may not believe, but that's where risk management comes in,
Hmm.
right? Where, okay, I know I don't believe, I know I can make some money, but at the same time, I'm not going, I can use risk management to say, okay, if I am wrong and my belief of it not working was right,
Hmm.
then hey, I just got a stop loss, I lose a bit of money, I ain't mad. But what if I'm wrong and I don't believe, but it still goes up? Well,
Yep.
hey, that's the
Then
beauty of
you
the
missed a
market. The
good
market
trade.
is the one place where you can be wrong and still make money.
Yep. Exactly. So, this week we had CPI came in a little bit cooler than people expected. The markets liked the fact that there wasn't anything kind of like totally bizarre that kind of flew out of nowhere regarding inflation. Let's be honest, the BLS wasn't going to come out with some kind of report that was going to stop the FOMC from cutting, but their report
Right.
baked into the cake another cut and potentially quantitative, not quantitative tightening, but loosening the rate at which they're tightening, which would inadvertently be like an easing. So
Yeah.
now the question um, is if all the earnings come in line with expectation, and we know we're all getting a cut and we're all expecting a little bit of easing, is there anything we're not paying attention to that could derail the normal end of year squeeze?
Listen, that's the trifecta, right? For this end of the year rally, and you're right. I'd ask myself that question: what could derail the end of the year market rally? And here is my 5 point system that I'm using. The trifecta starts this week, which is the big three, which are uh, the Mag 7 earnings. So Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Google, they report this week.
Hmm.
If Earnings are good. Guidance is good. Guidance in line sounds well. That's a check mark for we can rally into the end of the year, right? If it doesn't, or if it doesn't live up to expectations, or guidance is a little bit light, that could put a stain on the end of the year rally. So it's a simple yes or no question. Is the
Mm-hmm.
Mag 7 earnings guidance good? Yes or no? Keep the
Mm-hmm.
system simple, right? So if it's a yes, we rally. No, stain. Checkpoint number 2, FOMC. Do they rate cut October? And are they still dovish for December? Simple, yes or no. If yes,
Mm-hmm.
tailwind for the market. We should rally. If no, they hawkish, kind of in question,
Mm-hmm.
could put a stain.
Mm-hmm.
Checkpoint number 3, and which was the wild card, is the China relations. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you actually look at the market, every pullback or down turn we've had this year was on the back of some China drama. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one.
Mm-hmm.
And when we've made good moves, it's been because of, oh, we are delaying China tariffs or we have a deal with
Mm-hmm.
China, right? So the wild card has been China. And I do think that is the one thing that could derail the end of the year rally. Now,
Mm-hmm.
based on what we've heard this weekend, the talks are optimistic. I believe we'll get confirmation on Thursday when Trump and Xi talk.
Mm-hmm.
If they approve the framework that Bessett and them did over the weekend, again, check mark, we rally. If that goes south, okay, we sustain, we pull back. So that's the trifecta of this week. The next 2 points that I'm looking at or using to keep things simple is monthly or prior month 50% retracement lines. So as
Mm-hmm.
it stands, I'm basing that on September's. If you were to put a Fibonacci on September's monthly candle, is the month of October below the 50% mark? If no, we bullish. If
Mm-hmm.
yes, okay, look for sales, right? Or we in the selling environment. Right now, we are above that 50% mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is the VIX. Is the VIX above 18 to 20? If yes, all right, we are looking for sales. It's volatile. If no, we rally.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I'm not adding in nothing else. So people ask me, well, what about this and what about that? I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
If those 5 give me a yes,
Mm-hmm.
we rally. That's simple. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not adding no more complexity. I'm not about to play the what if game because you can do that all day.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if those 5 things give me a check, buy pullbacks, buy dips because we're going
Mm-hmm.
higher. It's that
Yep.
simple for me.
Yeah. I agree. It's
So
funny.
yeah,
Like you and I, we did a live about this time last year, and we were bullish into end of year. And then close to the end of the year, we started giving some of our like next year targets, and we talked
correct.
about the 7,000.
We
And
absolutely
it's
did.
funny because we even on that drop in April, we didn't
Mhm.
actually lose any of the positioning that was up at that 7,000 area. Now, as we get closer towards the end of the year, my question may have been if we had a really strong rectember in September, if we would have had a really strong pullback, I would have wondered if there would still be enough gamma in those strikes to like give us that magnetic pull into the end of year. But I mean, 68, we're above 6,800. So, or no, we're just next to 6,800. But
Yeah,
I mean, we're in such a
we right there.
bullish kind of groove that I just can't imagine that we don't get there. Now, it is only 200 points away. So I wonder if, that gives us a bit of like rockiness on the way there, or if we really do get that like smooth, directional kind of
What
squeeze
if we
up
go
into the
higher?
end of the I wouldn't be mad at it.
So
My
that's
leaves
the
won't be
that's
saying
the
nothing.
you are absolutely right that we basically hit 6,800 Friday. 7,000 is a big level. But I personally, there's a couple things too, right? This is still a very, very hated rally. And
You're not lying.
And when I look at the overall makeup of the market, it reminds me a lot of last year when like 6,000 started to become a realization. Right? A lot
Hmm.
of people were like, oh shit, like nobody was really like, it was kind of like we might get there, but we don't really know.
Hmm.
And when we got to 6,000, I mean, we just kept on going.
Hmm.
So I'm in the, I feel like because there's still a not, okay, a couple things, right? There's still a lot of non-believers, right?
Hmm.
You still have a ton of cash on the sidelines when you look at
Hmm.
the money markets. And we really haven't had that melt up yet. I
Hmm.
mean, this rally has been like a slow grind, right? We
Yeah.
haven't really
There's
seen
no
that.
exuberance to the moves. Yeah.
Right. Like, is it, like where, you look at some of the sentiment gauges, fear and greed, fear, you know, the American Association for Individual Investors, past 2 weeks, bearishness has been the majority by
Hmm.
46%. I think last week was
Hmm.
42%. So I think the realization is, okay, yeah, 7,000 is very attainable, but not a lot of people are entertaining. Well, let me not say a lot of people because I've seen some institutions say it, but I don't think a lot of retail investors are prepared or even entertaining what happens when we get to 7,000. If they even are, most
Hmm.
retail mindset is, oh, we get to 7,000, we're going to sell off. Everybody's still looking
Hmm.
for this freaking sell off. Like, bro, we had a
Hmm.
20% correction earlier
Hmm.
this year. Do you know
Hmm.
how rare it is to have a 20% correction in one year as well as a 5 to 10% correction in the same year? That is a very rare occurrence.
Hmm.
So the fact that we've already had the 20%, that was the correction,
Hmm.
right? So to say, okay, I want a 10% pullback, you might be waiting until 2026. Right? Like, do the math.
That's a
You
good
only
point.
get a 20% pullback every one
Hmm.
to three or every 3 years or so.
Hmm.
You get a 10% correction every 1.5 years.
Hmm.
So again, I don't know where, or I know where all this FUD is coming from. I just think a
Hmm.
lot of people are stuck in that 2020, 2022 mindset.
Hmm.
And it doesn't, it's just, it is what it is, but it don't happen like that.
Yeah.
uh, and
I think one of the things also that people keep, you know, for a long time, people were like, oh, this rally is just because of the Mag 7. It's just the big boys. They're like dragging everything up. But I was doing an analysis of like all the stocks in the on the stock exchange. And like 3 months ago, only 200 stocks had doubled in value. And then like a month ago, like 300 stocks had actually doubled in value. And then recently when I went and looked back, it's like more than 500 stocks
mm,
in the New York Stock Exchange have doubled in value.
mm-hmm,
The problem is that the way that the S&P works, the fact that they give all that like unequal, they give unequal weighting to
wait,
different
mm-hmm,
different companies, you
yep,
see the mega cap make like these massive moves and you feel
mm-hmm,
like nothing else is moving.
mm-hmm,
But for a stock valuation to make a 100 or 200% return in
mm-hmm,
a very small period of time, that is exceedingly bullish. And the
mm-hmm,
fact that more than 500 companies have done that is very bullish on the overall economy. So it means that no, or the entire stock market. So it means that
mm-hmm.
it's not like money is just going into like one narrow area. That's not an accurate assessment of what's
Not, it's
happening in the
because
markets.
the media drives the narrative, and that's what they want retail to
Hmm.
believe. But you're
Yep.
right. When you look under the hood, I will tell everybody now, go look at a subsector called engineering and what is it? Hold on, give me a second. Let me find
Hmm.
this name. Go look at this area called engineering and construction. It's a
Hmm.
subsector under industrial services.
Hmm.
If you go look at this sub area and look at the names in that area and go look at those charts, they all look like vertical lines.
Yep. Hmm.
Like,
It's the
to your
truth.
point, these stocks have tripled to quadrupled in value since
Hmm.
2022.
Yep.
You know what I
And
mean?
a
But
lot of
that is not that's
sorry.
not a sexy area to talk about, right? It's
No.
not AI and stuff. But
Hmm.
these are quality companies making a crap ton of money
Hmm.
with not that large of market caps, and they have been exploding.
Hmm.
And it's just, again, it's not sexy for retail, so it's not talked about in the news or the media,
Hmm.
but it's amazing when you go look at some of these charts. Like, you're like,
Yeah.
holy cow, how do I not know about this company?
Hmm.
Well,
Well,
because it's not.
it's funny that you
Yeah.
say that because so I was listening to actually a tax advisor, and what do you call it? And he was talking about, the big beautiful bill and some of the tax incentives that are inside the bill that people aren't talking enough about that are going to impact the market, not just for this year, but next year. And
Yeah.
the biggest thing he said is that those equipment companies that are like doing like build outs and stuff, that they get a 100% tax cut
Mm,
on all the costs related to any kind of infrastructure build out and equipment provision that is
mm,
related to like like energy and AI. Now, he gave
mm.
it all the technical details, and he was listing like 15 different companies that honestly like I had never heard of. And he was like, any of these companies, they will get a 100% tax reimbursement
Mm,
because of their contribution to this like getting ahead of China, because that
mm,
is all the government wants, is to pull us
mm,
back up to compete with China. The
mm,
only company I can remember from the list was AMAT, um, Applied Materials. But they
mm,
were like, everything Applied Materials does in 2025, 6, 7, and 8 is going to be
mm.
like a 100% tax deductible. They won't be paying taxes on any of that CapEx and OpEx.
Wow.
Um, it's those kinds of things where the government they're investing money, they're creating tax cuts to be able to really pour into very specific areas of the market. And like you said, it's not always super sexy, but if they're getting money and they're going to make money and you want to make money in the stock market, just make your life easy, you know,
Follow the money.
follow the money. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And it was somebody also saying it's put anxiety that people have with like the worry about all the down action.
Yeah.
And it's funny, people this week must have been exceedingly nervous about the CPI report because like I was talking about, we have these systematic trades that we do every single day. And one of
Yeah.
the things that it shows us, whether we care about it or not, but when we're setting up the trade, it shows us the put call parity.
Mm,
And so last week there was one day where a call at the 20 delta was 80 cents, which is bizarre. Usually it's like at least 120 or 180, but the 20 put delta was worth 680. It was more than six times the value of the relevant call. So it just shows you like just how terrified people were about like what might happen with China, the CPI report. And it's funny because last week I mean, people kept asking, should we get puts? Should we get downside positions? I was like, there's no gamma down there. I can't like, I have to just follow the rules. But thank God, because all of those, any put position would have just gotten, been a total waste of money last week because they're just,
got cooked.
yeah, there was nothing driving us down there, but the amount of institutional hedging was just crazy that it was like 600 times the upside values. And I kept
Yep.
telling people calls are just so cheap. Like spend 80 cents, spend $80. And those calls were going up to like $18 the next
Right.
day. It was just wild. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Because, yeah. I mean, I'm at a point, I reached a point where now it's not my job to try to convince people. it's my job to just share information and let them make their own choice. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not about the debate or argue people out. I've been in this game long enough to where I know my system. I know what I see. I'm okay when I'm wrong. And I'm great when I'm right. But
Mm-hmm.
I just have gotten to a point where I know the amount of hours that I put into my research, and I know what comes with it, to where I don't doubt my system no more. Okay, there are other great people out there and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And people will be like, well, did you see such and such, or did you see that? And it's like, to be honest, no. I don't care.
I
Like,
don't
I
have to see
know
everything.
all that's gonna do is bring doubt into my own system, which I don't
Mm-hmm.
need. If my system is wrong, okay, right? But I don't need to go listen to somebody else or whatever to be like, oh, okay, well, all right. I don't know enough about how other people trade or what other people's systems
Mm-hmm.
are. So again, why should I even concern myself with what they think? They don't know, just like I don't know, right? We're all really
Mm-hmm.
just trying to make educated guesses. So we build systems and things like that
Mm-hmm.
around what we're comfortable with and manage our own risks in hopes that we are right and make our money, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case may be. So yeah, it's a lot of fear. Fudge sells easier than
Yeah.
optimistic people. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
And it
You know,
distracts. It distracts people
yeah,
from other things that are going on.
yeah.
We're trying to
You
bankrupt
know,
half the
it
central
it
United
also reminds
States.
me of a really good lesson in the book. If anybody's read the books, The Psychology of Money by Housel, I think his name is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I actually, when I was doing my Sunday shows, I did an episode on this. And give me a second, I gotta find the chapter because it's like, so this is the book that I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about, right? And there's a chapter. It's called uh, oh my god, where is it at? The Seduction of Pessimism.
Ooh, that is okay.
Right. So that was the chapter. And that right there, if
Mm-hmm.
anybody's ever read this book, that chapter is everything, because it
Mm-hmm.
talks about how and why FUD is so prevalent in the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the allure of me, right? It's me projecting my fear onto somebody else, where I'm fearful of losing my money because I may think something happened. So I say, hey, you need to be concerned about these China talks and da 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 da, right? And it's the
Mm-hmm.
seduction of pessimism, because if I do turn out to be right, I can say, oh, well, I saved you, right? I saved you. I know what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
right? But nobody never goes on the other side of when they're wrong and say, oh, I'm sorry. You could have just made a
Mm-hmm.
crap ton of money, right? And the people who are generally optimistic or on the other side of pessimism, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times sound crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm telling you, that chapter right there it was just, all
I
I can
need to
say
go
is,
back and read that book. I need to pull it out of my storage here.
listen, that chapter, The Seduction of Pessimism, is
Mm-hmm.
like, that's what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah,
All these
it's
folks trying to
true.
call tops,
Mhm.
or, putting out all
And
this
and the thing is, I can
uncertainty.
understand why people, in a way, I can understand why people are so pessimistic. And it's because people are living inside their politics. And in like the normal life, there's a lot that people are interacting with every single day. It's funny. So my nephews, they came down to visit me. They come often down from Germany. And
Mm,
we were traveling around, and it was really strange because my nephew was like, I've come here now how many times? I've never seen a homeless person.
mm,
And he was like, I've never seen anybody begging for money. And there were like a few, because like where they live in Germany, that's, that all of that kind
They kind
of,
of see that.
yeah, they see it. So they came here and they were like totally shocked. Um, and so it's also this thing about like what you are experiencing in your day-to-day life. Like if your children are in a bad public school and you feel frustrated about that, you're of course going to feel frustrated about the public education system and the Ministry of Education and blah blah blah. But if you don't have kids that are in school and you're never interacting with it, you're never going to feel frustrated about that thing. And I think it's very difficult for people when they're living inside a day-to-day frustration and they feel like that thing should have a bigger impact in other areas. But one of the things with the American economy is that they have made the economy like be able to stay strong in spite of everything. And that's why people like it. Like you can go to war, you can have a genocide, you can kill 100,000 children, and the American market isn't going to do anything. The stock market cannot be
And that
your
sounds
moral
so bad, just
compass.
FYI.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds so
It
bad. But it's
sounds
the truth.
terrible,
But it's
but
the
the
truth.
stock market isn't your church. If you
Correct.
want to find a moral compass, you got to go meet Jesus, and Jesus isn't sitting inside the American stock market. I,
You're
like,
right.
like I have
You're right.
pastors ask me all the time. They're like, you must like that." Because I'll say that like I don't know why you guys can like why the church constantly conflates capitalism with Christianity, because
Mm,
actually it's literally the most unchristian thing. Like you can starve to death and food companies are making money off of your death. That cannot be anything Jesus talked about in the Bible. I don't think that we're going to find that.
right.
So but the thing is that if you want the stock market to reflect morality, then you're always going to be chasing something that just doesn't exist. Now,
Hmm.
I mean, and I'm not trying to say that like that the stock market should just it just is the reality of how the stock market works. The stock
That's it.
market is
That's it.
almost morally ambiguous. It's not
That's
interested. It doesn't care about any of those things. And that's one of the things that has kept America so strong and its economy so consistent. But
hmm
I think that then people have a very difficult time because they want the US stock market to reflect what they are feeling about inflation, what they're feeling about their kids' access to healthcare.
hmm
But the stock market isn't they've protected it, right? It's one of the reasons why companies don't do earnings every other month. It's also why we might not have earnings every quarter.
Right.
Like we were trying to do, and even this week the stock market has actually enjoyed the government shutdown because we don't have to interact with 15 pieces of economic data every other day. The market has actually enjoyed the silence because they're like, in our stock market universe, we don't care about your economic data. You
Don't.
guys legally are supposed to be long the market. Every month, we're going to eat your retirement and pension contributions, and we are going to keep grinding out gains. Either get on this train or
Yep.
watch your retirement kind of just stay flat because you don't want to participate because you're expecting this to be, I don't know, the New York Stock Mosque Synagogue Church. No, it's not. It's not happening.
I don't know. Yeah. But
So, um, somebody mentioned EOSE. I know it's Millennial Properties. I love him for that because he's always putting in. If any of you come to these lives and you can see the comment section and you see Millennial Properties say
hmm
any underlying, just go buy 1,000 shares. That's it. Just go buy 1,000 shares. He's rarely wrong and he's always on time. He's not early, he's not late, he's just like spot on. If I would have listened to him every single time, I'm sure that I would have like increased my returns for the year by 5% at least. No, I mean, so a lot of these companies, I'm not that, yes, you are. To give yourself credit, Mr. Millennial Properties. But I was telling him that, he mentioned EOSE and I didn't know what the company was, but actually, it is a really good company because they work on energy storage. And this
hmm
is another kind of idea that a lot of times people want to only look at like the top three, four performers of companies that they've always heard about. Because
Mm-hmm.
one of the big things of what's the word? A lot of like how people invested
Mm,
before is they invested in the companies that they knew. So they're going to invest in like Nike because I buy Nike shoes, or I'm going to invest in Walmart because I go shop at Walmart or whatever. And I think that in this next iteration of what happens in the stock market, people have to get away from that. The market moves too quickly to care about what it is that you as an individual are buying every day. The stock market is very forward looking, and AI has made it super forward looking.
mm-hmm.
And before, I think we could rely on what we saw around us as being things that still had the potential to grow, because mom and pop shops did have the potential to become something. I mean, the Walton family was a mom and pop shop before it became Walmart. But I don't think that that's really the progression of companies anymore. And you have to be looking at areas where there's significant demand and there's just not enough companies able to meet that demand. And I think EOSE is just one good example. But anything relating to energy storage, nano nuclear reactors, any equipment required for nuclear reactors,
Mm-hmm.
anything relating to making AI or data centers more energy efficient, anything
Exactly.
relating to cooling systems. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
these are areas of technology that have to continue to improve constantly if we are going to ever get to the point of being able to compete with Russia. And because of that, the government is always going to be um, finding ways to invest in those, to participate in those companies and to
Yep.
participate in their upside. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm sorry that I missed EOSE when Millennial Properties first called it out, but I am
Mm-hmm.
long. So I have to disclose that I am long EOSE, and we are as a community. But I think there are like 50, 60 companies that are like that are super niche, they're small, their stock valuations are still at a reasonable level where you can buy shares.
Mm-hmm.
So don't just play options. Try to get in now on the ground floor, because think 10, 15 years from now, when we parse out who the big dogs are, not all of these are going to be, multi-trillion dollar companies, but
Mm-hmm.
some of them are. And you want to
Correct.
own them from when they're $20.
Right. Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And yeah, shout out to Millennial Properties. We exchange DMs and stuff like that. So yeah, we've been talking about ESOE for a minute. Since at least I know since it was under $10, I think.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he also got us onto Path. That was another one that
Yep.
he
Mm-hmm.
mentioned to us. So, and that's had a really nice breakout. I'm not sure if you guys have any questions. You can always pop them down in the chat or put them in the little question circle area. Um, so, yeah, because I mean, this week we have, like we already talked about, we have all the Mag 7, and that's going to be imperative to see if we can break above 7,000, which was our initial target. I think actually I might have said my range was 7,000 to 7,200. I'm gonna have to go back and like find it on the live. Um, but yeah, somebody else already asked. Some of the other stocks like Cat has their earnings this week, which
Oh yeah.
means Deere and some of those others, some of the consumer staples. Yeah. So how are you feeling about that sector? Because I know you're a big Deere and Cat and HD
Yeah.
player. So
So they are categorized under industrials.
oh, that's true.
Yeah,
You
cat and
you
deer.
are correct.
Um, and I mean, I so I like it. I mean, what I'm seeing is the one of the things that I've liked recently about this kind of ever since the October 10th sell off and the following period after. One of the things that was making me feel uneasy as the market was moving forward was I didn't like a lot of the froth that was coming in. Like
Mm,
like don't get me wrong, I own quantum stocks
mhm,
and some of those like areas that are kind of like we said the future, but the aggressive run-ups that they were getting, I wasn't necessarily vibing with that. It gave me a very
mm.
frothy feel, especially the way they were running up, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? um and but now a lot of those areas have experienced significant pullbacks and corrections, and what I am starting to see is a rotation back into what we were just talking about, the real players of what this movement is. So I've been seeing
Hmm.
a rotation back into the leaders of technology. So the semiconductors, technology companies have been leading, and industrials have bounced back. Industrials was I mean,
Hmm.
besides tech and financials, industrials has been the sector that has really been cooking.
Hmm.
And I've been seeing a rotation back into that area, and I love it. So, I mean, Cat, I want to say it was like a week ago, silently like bought a AI company or something like that, and
Okay.
it rallied all the way up to like five. The most recent high is 545.
Hmm.
And I mean, if you look at their monthly chart, I mean, it's been booming since the April lows. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
To your
Cat is just like up and to the right.
Yeah, to the comment you made earlier, Cat is up 95% off the April lows. So talking about doubling
Woo.
in value, right? And that's one of those 500 stocks.
Yep.
But no, looking at the industrial area, I like what I see there. I will say Deer to me does have the more favorable risk reward,
Hmm. I was gonna say the same
because
thing.
of where it is.
Hmm.
But Cat is extremely strong. I'll be interested to see what they say about earnings and guidance. One of the areas that could necessarily hurt Cat is the whole China thing. So hopefully, once we get some clarification there, they can say, "Hey,
Hmm.
we'll be fine." But they're doing great things, and so yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the earnings players that have reported in the industrial space already, they've done okay.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think Cat will be fine. Boeing reports this week as well.
Hmm.
I mean, this is like we're in the heart of earnings
Yep.
season. Like this is that week where you have like 30 to 40% of companies reporting. So it's a lot more than just those top Mag 5 or
Hmm.
the Mag 7. I mean, like I'm looking at just the earnings whisperer calendar, and I mean, I could
Hmm.
list off the amount of names that report this week that are significant. I mean, you got Visa, we said Boeing and Cat, Meta, Microsoft. You got ServiceNow reports this week. Lilly reports this week,
Hmm.
right?
Wow, I
Um,
even missed service now.
you said who?
Said I even missed service now.
Yeah, yeah.
I better check my my
ServiceNow reports
position.
the same day as Meta, Microsoft, and Google. That's gonna be one hell of a day right there. Um,
Wow.
you got who else I'm looking at? Coinbase reports this week.
Hmm. Yeah, you have
You got a few.
so, and you have a lot of companies where, like, I think the biggest thing about this week is that a lot of times you'll hear from certain companies, and then all the companies in the sector will already kind of move along with. So, like, you have PayPal this week, and I
Mm-hmm,
think that a firm will end up being like you have SoFi and PayPal, and if both of those are
mm-hmm.
good, then all the other ones like
Well, yep.
Square and
Mm-hmm,
or but whatever it is now, and
mm-hmm,
Affirm and some of those other companies will just naturally have kind of a move. I think that
mm-hmm,
some of the other companies, like for instance, because of like the strong mega cap investment in companies like Oklo and like
mm-hmm,
stuff relating to data centers, depending on what they say about their
mm-hmm,
capex spending, if they're going to increase capex spending, that's going to then kind of like impact everything else. So I think it's one of those weeks where you where yes, you have these companies that are reporting, but they have such an impact on all the other reports coming out next week that then you almost get the reaction today that
Yeah.
may have been what was going to come out because they kind of like spill the
Yeah.
beans. Because I know when Cat comes out with their earnings, usually Deere, and it's the same like with Sherwin Williams and HD and Lowe's, and like these kind of companies that are all kind of doing this
Yeah.
stuff together. So it's a massive week. There could
Yeah.
be some volatility, but right
The
now
only
volatility
thing,
is down.
so the one thing I will say is, and I've noticed this, is that usually with this big week, it's so much reporting
Mm-hmm.
that from what I can recall, there is a lot of volatility crush,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's where you'll get a good report. Prime example, last week, IBM,
Mm-hmm.
great report. It actually like sold off after hours, but then the
Mm-hmm.
morning of took off like a rocket the next 2 days.
Yep.
But all that really did was it crushed a lot of the weekly players. But at the same time, if you just waited and bought the morning of, look what
Mm-hmm.
happened the next 2 days. They ended up like, shooting back up
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the case. So they just shake out a lot of the
Yep.
gamblers,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then ultimately make the real move.
Yep.
So this is one of those weeks where it's so many that I think we could see that type of movement where they'll do an Ivy crush, but then maybe a day or two later you'll get the move you were thought would have
Mm-hmm.
happened for the earnings stuff. So
Yep.
yeah, it's like we said, it's a very high impactful week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and usually, when you have such a high impactful week, the winners are typically the option sellers because they know the degens are going to be gambling their ass off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either people are going to be betting on a big move to the upside or a move to the downside. And when you think about from a market maker's perspective, what makes the most sense, keep it flat.
Yep. You're telling hey, look, I'm an option selling lover, so
Right? Like, keep it
I'm
flat.
all about it. One of the earnings that came out last week that, for a long time I've been talking about medical devices and AI. And I was telling people ISRG
ISRG.
is such a massive play.
Listen,
Pay attention, friends. Pay attention,
I'm
friends.
so mad at myself because
Oh no.
ISRG reported the same day as Netflix,
Netflix and GEV. Mm-hmm.
right? Didn't they report the same day?
Yeah, yeah.
So I was sitting here, I'm looking at the calendar, and I'm like, everybody talking about Netflix, but nobody's talking about ISRG. And I'm looking at ISRG chart, and I'm like, they're freaking negative year to date. What in the world?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I think that's the play. And I told myself that. And I was like, all right, when I get back to my computer at the end of the day, I'm gonna go look at the option chain. I think I'm gonna make a play. So I get back and I just got lost in conversation. Didn't even
Yep.
think to go look back. And the bell rang and I said, damn it. Right. So I was like, let me just add these to my watch list. So I looked at ISRG's chart and I was like, I think it can get I was thinking it could get to like 520. And so I looked and I'm pissed because the 520 calls, I was ain't gonna lie, I was gonna do like a little earnest play. But the 520 calls were pretty cheap. It was only like $2. Like two,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like $200. I'm like, I should have just bought it and went about my day, but I was like, I'm gonna wait till the end of the day.
Yeah.
And when I saw that reaction, I was pissed. Them damn calls went to like they went to like $40 the next day. I
Wow.
was like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
So I don't know. It was about 3 weeks ago. So we had been waiting for ISRG to pull back and then give us this little base. And then
Yes.
and then we got into leaps at the
Oh, y'all are
500.
sitting pretty.
And then we also got for earnings, I said this thing's going to 510. And so we actually got diagonals up at that 510. But I will say this, the very annoying thing was that there was like no liquidity on ISRG. So even though our calls were up massively because we were like deep in the money, it
Hmm.
took us like we had to wait almost the entire day to get out of the position. And
Yeah.
that's also something that like sucks on some of those companies is that they just don't have enough liquidity in the option chain. And it's just
Yeah.
like, oh man, you're just waiting and you're
And I
watching
would
your
say,
P&L like
was it the short term ones or was it the leaps that you had to wait?
the short-term
The
ones.
short one, okay, yeah.
Mhm. The leaps, I'm not getting rid of those. I mean,
Right,
come
right, right.
on.
No, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
But
went from being
no,
like
yeah.
way out in the money. I'm getting deep money, baby. I want to see an 80 delta on those things by the end of
No,
the
yeah.
year.
And it's like again, I'm looking at ISRG's chart and I am just so upset with myself because that pullback was perfect. Like came
Hmm.
right back to those April lows. 438 was right at my 50% fib. I mean, it had all the check boxes.
Yeah, it was a
And
really
it's one
beautiful
of those
chart.
plays where I love them because, like you said, nobody's talking about it. And
Mhm.
that goes back to our general conversation of it may not be sexy and it ain't the everything that everybody's talking about, but those are the names that are
Hmm.
freaking printing, man.
Hmm.
And
And the
oh
thing
man.
is that they're like ISRG will not move the whole year, and it will do its entire move on earnings. So
Yes, they are a great
that's the
yes.
other problem is that it's not really a company like now that the earnings have come out, it's not really a company that unless you do some kind of structure, I wouldn't say like go buy shares here or don't enter a leap from right here because like, honestly, they might do literally a bunch of nothing all the way until next
Yeah,
earnings.
they
So,
like just make giant moves and then kind of consolidate for it until it get
mhm,
its next giant move. But
yeah.
yeah, and that's the exact reason why I'm pissed because I'm like, man, now I'm just gonna have to sit here and watch it and just wait, 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 wait.
Hmm.
But yeah, ISRG was special, and it's funny because I actually include ISRG a part of my like robotics watch list. Them and
Uh-huh.
Rockwell Automation.
Hmm.
And those were two plays or just two companies that I had on watch for robotics, and I freaking missed Rockwell. Well, I was just a little bit early on Rockwell, and the whole April pullback kind of just took me out of my position. But
Hmm.
if you look at the chart, ever since that April low, that thing been doing exactly what I thought it was going to do, which was take off. And I never ended up getting back in it. But those were two plays or two companies that are very big when it comes to the automation and robotics
Hmm.
that I thought
Yeah.
would be do very well. So,
Hmm.
but no,
Yeah,
great call on that one, or
yeah.
good hit on that one
Um,
because
I
woo.
wish that it was easier to get ABB and Siemens because I think those two companies are also have a lot. But buying them on the U.S. stock market, the option chain is
Yeah,
a
it
bit weird
sucks.
since
Yeah.
it's a Swiss and a German company, but
Yep.
and ABB same thing. But ABBV also has AbbVie also has earnings this week,
You said
and
AbbVie?
mhm,
Oh, damn. Damn. They not even
but
right
that's at
now.
the very end of the week. And the thing is
Oh,
that
yeah,
the
yeah. Friday. You're right. I see it.
AbbVie and the APP chart look exactly the same. I almost thought I was like that I like typed it in wrong and was like charting up the wrong thing because they just look so similar. But there are a couple companies that have had really nice pullbacks just very recently before earnings. So for people who are looking for things that haven't like aren't like cat is difficult because it's just like, this.
Yeah, I
But
wouldn't say so.
some of the other companies have had like decent pullbacks to their trend line. So, those might be things that you want to start,
You know who
you know.
else reports this week that has just been a silent killer is Seagate Technology.
Oh, yes. What is that all about?
So
I didn't realize they're reporting this
they
week. I thought they
are
reported last week.
nah, they report this week, and I want to say they're in the top five as far as top performers in the S&P 500 this year. Like if I go look at Spider website and I go to year to date and I look at who are the top performers in the S&P 500 this year, I think
Another 100 bagger. It's up 100. It's up 100% from 110 to 235.
yeah, actually I think it might be more than that though. No, okay, no, yeah, it is. So if you go to Spiders and you go to year to
Mhm.
date and you say and you look at who are the top performers in the S&P,
Hmm.
Number one is Robinhood, up 275%. Number two
Hmm.
is another silent sleeper, is Western Digital, WDC,
Hmm.
up 188. And number three is Seagate Technology, up 171% year to date.
And the Seagate and WDC chart look copy paste. They're
Yes,
just exactly the
yes,
same. So
yes.
somebody put in here AMKR. I don't know if I know that one. Let me see. Sometimes I don't know the ticker. Amcor
AMKR.
Technology.
They report this
And
week?
no, I don't know if they're reporting this week, but he did mention it in the conversation
Yeah, they
about,
do. They report Monday.
oh, okay, well, we're already there.
Let me see. Yes, they report Monday.
Photronics. That's
Oh,
also one.
I think that's PH or PL
PLAB
PL.
Lab.
Yes, I've heard of them. That's a
I haven't
small.
heard of
They
them,
are.
so there you go. But
Yeah, that's
I'm
a
telling you guys, if Millennial Properties is putting it in the chat, you better save it somewhere.
Phototronics. What's their market cap? Because I think they came up on. Yeah, so I found PLAB. I was doing. I was looking at like some small cap technology ETFs, and this was one of the
Hmm.
top holdings in the ETF. And I looked into them. It's very small market cap. Um, and I think I've one of those
Oh,
ones
okay.
that can. This is one of those ones that can absolutely explode as well. Very like it's a very niche company.
Hmm.
Um,
So you guys need to retype that in the chat so you can save it for yourselves. Those are,
yeah,
he gave us three really great companies:
he did.
AMKR, PLAB, and GXO. So you
Yep.
better go check them out, friends. Um, Yeah, I think that I don't know. I just have like in spite of the fact that things have moved so much, I think
Who?
that just like so many stocks have moved so
Oh yeah,
much.
yeah.
I'm still feeling optimistic. Like I don't feel like this is going to be that this is the end of the enthusiasm. I think that
Oh, absolutely not.
are the markets are doing are this is exactly what I said a couple weeks back. I said people underestimate Trump's ability to massage the markets. He knows what he in that sense he really knows what he's doing. And no matter
Yes.
what you agree or disagree, um you can't you I mean you just can't ignore the fact that the markets are very liquid and he is greasing the machines going into this end of year, going into the next midterm cycle. He knows that he needs to get big wins, and he's doing a lot of. There is a lot of policy that's come out that hasn't necessarily been favorable to a lot of different states as individuals. He's going to do what it takes to grease the machinery, and people need to be ready for that. And he's tested the markets. He's seen that, he doesn't have to be concerned about things like Gaza. Nobody's interested in that. Nobody cares what happens on that scene. Nobody cares what happens anymore in
So
Ukraine
what
and
I would say
Russia.
is instead of saying nobody cares, we'll say the
Is
market
it?
doesn't care.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Because people
market
care.
doesn't care. Yeah, yeah. People care, but the market isn't being driven by it. And so he's seeing that and he's shifting to other things that are
Correct.
going to get things moving. And so he sees that, when he talks about an INTC purchase or when he talks about maybe getting into IONQ, that he is stimulating the market. And what's funny is that it's almost like Trump has figured out how to do his own forward guidance.
That's a good observation. I didn't know that, or I didn't think of it that way.
I
But
didn't think of it either until just now. It was like this is exactly what Powell used to do, and what Greenspan and all and Volcker, they would come out and they never wanted to have a market temper tantrum because they were kind of changing paths. So they really changed how they massage markets, and I think
mhm.
Trump has really figured out how to do that.
Oh,
So.
absolutely. I listen. We said it. He knows that one of the market's triggers is tariffs in China. So whenever his buddies need a pullback, hey man, mention them China tariffs, bro. And then he does it, and the market goes down, and then he comes back and he says, "Oh, nah, everything's fine."
Taco
And then
Tuesday.
whoop, we go right back up. Like
Every day's a Taco Tuesday.
yeah, he knows, man. He knows, and that's why we as retail need to just. This is what I'm saying. This is the seduction of pessimism. We know that is the game he is playing. So instead of buying into all of the what if and this and that, use that to our advantage. Act as if
Hmm.
we are his buddies. When he does that, and you see the market selling off, go pull up your shopping list and what's on sale and
Hmm.
do what we know the institutions in them are doing, which is they are buying these dips.
Hmm.
So we need to act accordingly and position accordingly,
Yep.
and yeah, follow the money.
Yep.
Follow the money. There was something I was talking to I forgot who else. It was somebody, and we were basically just going, not necessarily like going back and forth, but just having conversation about what's more important, you being right or you making money.
Hmm.
And I think when traders come to the realization and investors that the more important outcome is you making money, you really start to care about, you really don't care if
Hmm.
you are right or wrong. You just need to find what's making money and go that route.
Yep.
Like that's ultimately what we're trying to do,
Mhm. Yeah,
right?
and you don't even have to think about it for yourself. Like you
Yeah,
can just think about it like, step away from the situation. So, like anybody would say that if you have a baby and the mother can produce milk, the breast milk of the mother is going to be the healthiest thing. But
absolutely.
there's still a lot of people that will go and buy Nestle infant formula. So, whatever your belief is about what is better, it doesn't negate the fact that people are going to go buy baby formula.
Correct.
So, you can do whatever you want in your family unit and make that decision for yourself, but you can still invest in the fact that there are going to be hundreds of people for whatever reason that maybe urgently need it or just want it or are taking care of somebody else's baby and need it, and
Hmm.
that there's always going to be a business for baby formula, whether that's your personal choice or not. But it
Exactly.
is funny now that you're saying this, like seduction of pessimism. So
Hmm.
we do these systematic trades in the trade speakeasy, and that's what our next mentorship is actually going to be about, is like teaching people how to do our 6 of our systematic trades. And over the last months that we've had these systematic trades running, we've had people join the trade. There's always people coming in and out of the Discord. And there were a couple guys that joined, really high educated engineers, blah, 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 came in, started doing the systematic trades, and they kept trying to improve them. Now, they have like a 93% win rate.
Hmm.
And every time they tried to improve the strategy, they just took a lot of losses. And and so they didn't get the same win rate as us, and they were really frustrated about that, and frustrated about the fact that they were like they weren't compounding wins, they were compounding losses. But it was more important to them to find a way to improve the thing that they were given, no matter how good the thing was, because it was like they needed to feel like they were like part of the process. They really despised the idea that they would be handed a strategy with a 90+% win rate. And again, it's this seduction of pessimism. It's this idea that I don't want somebody else to be more right than me, and I would rather be wrong by myself than be right with somebody else because they've already done the work. And I think that there's a this kind of lack of collaborative spirit that is quite dangerous amongst retail investors. And I think that it's like I think there are a lot of people that couldn't do a live like this week over week with people like you and Dre and Zay and I mean you and Dre and Derek and Uncle Charles, because at the end, they don't have the capacity to say like I would rather be right with you than to be wrong on my own. And I
Hmm.
don't know what value proposition that is for people, that
Hmm.
it's not just the seduction of pessimism, it's like it's this seduction of I always want to be the most right, and if I can't be the most right, then I want to be totally wrong. Like it's just like that's not how money works. That's not how money is made. So if that is your personality, then I would say give your money to somebody else to invest for you, because you will not make money, and you will
You will
lose
self
not only.
destruct.
Yep. And you'll lose your family's money, not just
Correct.
your money,
It's
but
that
your
simple.
family's money with that kind of uh,
Mhm.
feedback. There was something else that I was going to say. Oh, Dre was on the call. And I don't know if Dre is on the call, but congratulations. Dre actually got married this weekend.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
yeah, the
saw that.
gentleman with the
Yeah,
dreadlocks
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
that
yeah,
joins us every once in a while. So anybody that has him on Instagram, go send him a congratulations. I wanted to tell him congratulations when he first joined on the chat. So congratulations to him and the missus. It seems like we get really great, exciting things happening on our lives.
yeah.
Everybody's
Hmm.
birthdays were on Sunday. You, me,
Hmm.
Derek. Now we have people getting married during the lives. Come on
Absolutely.
now. We obviously give people some good energy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, friends, I think that this has been wow, I can't believe we've already been on for an hour and a half. These
Oh
these
wow.
lives go by like that. So
Yeah.
we've given you a bunch of trade ideas. We have given you a bunch of tickers to go and research. We have hope to give you a bit of positive enthusiasm going into this end of year rally. Try to participate. Try to get in where you fit in. Don't overextend yourself. Don't over leverage. The markets are always risky. That we are not soothsayers. Jesus isn't sending us messages from the sky about when the next tariff conversation is going to come out. So the reality is like things can always happen, but
Hmm.
keep pursuing the knowledge. People who are always learners tend to be really successful in the trading space. But if you think you are at a point in your trading journey where you don't need anything more than what you have right now, I promise you, you will be very unsuccessful, or you will just not beat the markets. So, this isn't, don't exhaust yourself to not do better than what the market is doing, or just put your money in the S&P and like go enjoy yourself, go fishing. But
Right.
if you really are trying to improve your returns, keep learning. Don't
Mhm.
just rest on your laurels, because markets are constantly changing. So you really
Absolutely.
want to be able to participate in those trades. Oh, a great trade, which I really, really love right now, which Uncle Charles also highlighted last week. And so thank you for this, sir. Um, APP. APP has had a
At
really
11?
beautiful, yep, they've had a really beautiful pullback. So for those that are looking for trades that still have a really nice risk reward, you can thank Uncle Charles for his genius and sharing that in passing to us. So yeah, Zay's IG is up at the top. It's trading with Zay. So everybody, if you're not following, you should see it at the top since we're collaborating. And when I post the reel again, you'll
Yeah,
also
yeah. When you
see.
post it, yeah.
Yeah. So for anybody that's not following Zay, go follow him. Learn more about the runners community. Yeah, did he provide a strike? No. Uncle Charles usually doesn't provide strikes, but he does provide charts that are setting up for a nice potential move. So you can probably look at the open interest over the next couple of weeks and see if there's a strike that has a really nice clustering more than the others, and then position yourself kind of in front of that or around that. So, yeah. All right. I look forward to hearing how this week of returns goes. I hope everybody's out here making money. If you don't know how to make money trading, then, try to get into one of our communities and learn.
Yes.
And just get around a community of people that are doing the thing every single day. Sharpen your tools. And don't give up. Trading takes time. So if you're feeling frustrated, everybody goes through that season, but don't feel frustrated in vain. If you're not doing anything to get better, then yes, you will always be frustrated, and this will always be a failure of a process for you. But if you want to learn and engage with others that are like-minded, then find one of our communities. All the people that have been on the lives with me. They're people I know and trust and respect, like they. So look, you can look at all of our communities. That's the quote unquote call to action. And set a trade this week. Get involved, friends. All
Yeah.
right. I hope you have an amazing week, Zay, and to
You
our
too.
friends, also to y'all. All right. I'll say goodbye for now. Ciao.
Peace.